viewers, and welcome. This is the third, I think, I'm losing count, of my interviews with members of our advisory council. Today, I have with me Leo Igwe. How the devil are you, Leo?
Hi, Richard.
Good. I'm not sure whether our connection is fine, though. Anyway, thank you very much for agreeing to join our advisory council. Thank you for accepting that invitation. Can you tell us something about your history? Because I know you've been active for decades.
Well, I was born in southeastern Nigeria. That was shortly after the Nigerian Civil War. But I was born in a village. And by Nigerian standard, when I mean village, no amenities, no pipe-borne water, no electricity. And mainly life is rural and dependent on a lot of enemies. There were a lot of animist religious beliefs. People use that to make sense of illness, make sense of misfortune. Then to get my formal education, I was enrolled in a seminary. And there I spent about 12 years training to be a priest. And I left the training, that was in 1994. And in 1996, I started the humanist movement. And I've been actively involved in the promotion of humanism, skepticism, and free thought ever since.
So what changed your mind? Why did you decide not to be a priest?
Well, number one, I had so many issues. I had epistemological issues in terms of knowledge, the kind of knowledge they are actually promoting. There is, I didn't find that convincing. You know, the idea of God, the idea of divine intervention in human affairs, the idea that we have to be the praying type. If you need anything, you go on your knees instead of sit up and roll up your sleeves and get to work. And again, that when something happens to you, you'll be looking for scapegoats. You'll be looking up the skies instead of looking down here. And you're looking for solutions, coming from somewhere, imaginary places, instead of really actively trying to discover and explore things here. So as I was growing up, I found my own idea of life incompatible with the idea of life of the seminary, and also the issue of the celibate. They say you have to be a celibate priest and things like that. Number one, I see it against my own personal choices, and I don't see the need for that. And again, I also think that it puts human beings in a situation where sometimes they get into very abusive practices that we saw with the Catholic Church now. So it was not just philosophical and epistemological; it was also practical. So yeah. I think that as I grew up, I grew away from what the seminary stands for. And I felt that the humanist, skeptic, atheist outlook is more in line with my own personal philosophy.
Yes, it's very understandable. But since then, you've done some fantastic stuff, haven't you? You've been a research fellow at the James Randi Foundation. Sadly, James Randi died last week, of course. But tell us about that.
Yes, I think late James Randi had this foundation that actually invited me and made me a fellow some years ago. And for me, it was a point of inspiration. Yes, because I have always looked for a movement, an organization that can help me do what I want to do, which is fight superstition. Challenge charlatans, people who come around making very questionable, fraudulent claims about the cures of diseases, about how to explain misfortune. And for instance, as we have today in Nigeria, there are pastors who are saying that they could heal COVID-19. So, yeah. And I was inspired by what was going on at the James Randi Educational Foundation, because I think that there's a need to translate skeptical principles, the values of critical thinking and free inquiry into educational programs and into programs that can challenge pseudoscientists, paranormalists, and pastors or imams or all those people who come openly to make very questionable claims, very fraudulent claims, either about the solution of problems or the cure of diseases. Call them and challenge them to come openly and demonstrate the validity of their claims. So I was inspired by that. And this is one thing I have been carrying on doing as a fellow of James Randi Educational Foundation. Yes.
They're con men, aren't they? But you also appeared on a BBC show, didn't you? A documentary called Saving Africa's Witch Children back in 2008. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I think that that documentary was also another point of inspiration, because there were all these accusations against children going on, and there had not been any platform to get the world know what was going on. So it was a platform for us to get the world to understand that children are being scapegoated, and that pastors and churches are involved, heavily involved in this kind of atrocity. And it is important that we begin to highlight this evil going on and get the world to rally resources and help in dispelling witch persecution and witchcraft accusation in the region.
Well, you've done some fantastic stuff. You're a very worthy member of our advisory council. So there's stuff going on in northern Nigeria right now, isn't there, to do with blasphemy. What is your attitude towards blasphemy, the so-called crime?
Blasphemy law is absurd and is incompatible with 21st century human beings and humanity. Absolutely. It should not be in the statute book of any country.
Absolutely.
And those, for instance, in Nigeria who have been arrested or detained, like Mubarak, Bala, Yahya Sharif, or Omar Farouk, should be set free immediately, unconditionally. And the message of humanity and civilization should be sent out right away. And there should be no peppering over it, no shortcutting, no rationalization of why these people should spend even 1 extra minute in jail under the guise of blasphemy, because blasphemy is absurd, is a victimless crime. And there is no basis for anybody, any society, to tolerate such obnoxious and absurd legislation.
Unfortunately, that's when our connection broke. So I have to thank Leo for attending the interview in the credits.